Hey guys, welcome back to this character art demo in which we'll be doing color. As you can see, I have the background colored from what you saw before, and I'm going to be showing you guys how I go about putting color on these characters using overlay layers and color layers and some layer options here. So I actually already colored the this guy here. So all right. So see him all colored, and I have the recording of that. I actually was going to do a live version of me coloring that, but I was having some mic issues. Hopefully that's not happening right now as I speak to you, since I'm doing this live, so I wouldn't know until I check it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to color this lion character, dude, and I'll show you how to do it at first, and then I'll go ahead and speed it up, because I mean, if I just do this whole video live, it'll take about an hour or so, and I mean, who wants to be sitting watching this video for an hour? So what I'll do is I'll show you how I do some of the methods here, and then I'll speed it up, and I'll still talk over it, but it'll actually be a sped up version. So I have a base color for the line here, which is just the color I'm going to be painting as fur. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see the actual in the video here. I might have to put it on HD or something, but I have this layer set to overlay. And what this does is it overlays with our grayscale values underneath. So there's a few options I use here. I either use overlay, or I'll use hard light, or color. Overlay usually has, I like the look of it better, because it kind of adopts the full range of values that you have on there. So it'll overlay with the really light parts and with the really dark parts. If you put it on color, I'll just do it and show you. It's a little bit of a lighter effect, and it doesn't, I mean, if you look over here on his shoulder pad collar area here, we'll put it back on overlay. Okay. See the saturation is less, but the value is really high. And on color, it's not as high. It's only a little bit lower, but it's got more saturation. So color will give you just more, I guess, more pure color. And if you need to, you can tweak it and darken the darks and lighten the lights. Hard light is kind of like something in between. It's got a really weird effect sometimes. Sometimes it actually looks really good, but it's definitely not for this case. I would not go with hard light in this case. So I'm just gonna stick with the overlay for now, because this has the kind of desaturated look that I'm kind of going for with this. If I wanted a more saturated look, I might go with color, and then adjust accordingly. Okay, oops, put on soft light. Okay. So right now I'm going to, when you're doing this overlay stuff, and you've pretty much coated the entire character in one color, you might want to do the rest of the colors on that layer, or at least the rest of the base colors, because if I if I put another layer here and I set it to overlay, and then I want to paint this guy's, let's see, I'll paint this red up here. Okay. And I paint this red up here. Switch to a different brush. There we go. It's actually going to be overlaying with the brown as well. Okay. So if I turn off that brown, see, it changes the red. Okay, so what you want to do is, I would recommend just doing all your base colors on the same layer, or not coating the entire character like this and just doing individual parts. Or you can turn this off and put it on the other layer, and then just control click and delete it off the overlay layer. But I mean, for that, you might as well just do it on the same layer. But some people don't like to work on one layer. I've kind of gotten used to it at this point. just because when working with bigger documents, um, the more layers you have, the slower your computer's going to go. And right now, this document is 16 by 20, which isn't huge, but it's enough to slow down my computer if I have like 20 layers or so. So I'm just going to add some red here to this guy. Now, right now, I'm not worried about being too clean, like, going outside of the lines and stuff like that, because I can easily just control click the grayscale layer, go to select, go to inverse, which inverses the selection. So now you don't have the character selected, you have everything outside of the character selected. So if I hit delete, it deletes all the color outside of it. Another way to do it is just to keep the character selected. Sometimes I do this too, but the little ants looking things that go across the selection kind of annoy me at times. I don't know why, but they just annoy me. So sometimes I'll turn that off. But it's up to you. The thing about Photoshop is that there's like so many different ways to do one thing. So it's really, they cater to a lot of different people's style of learning, and it's really, for me, it's like what you've originally been taught. I mean, if you find a method that's that cuts that time in half, then yeah, you should probably just use that method. But I just kind of stick with what I've been taught or with what I've discovered on my own. So, and this is basically how I'm just going to be coloring this entire character, just using this overlay method here. And since this is live, it's not going to be all sped up, and you're going to see me switching colors and adjusting colors and making mistakes and having to fix it and stuff like that. So it's all part of the process. So that's what you got to do. All right, I think I'll just leave this thing brown here. Do like a darker brown. Let's still look red. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the good thing about getting your values done in grayscale before putting any color on there at all, because what that does, it just allows you to focus solely on values and not worry about, the saturation of the color that you're painting, what it would realistically be doing in this type of lighting and all that. You can worry about the color afterwards. And color is something that you can study for a while and still not fully get it, but it's just there's more to it than picking these colors and then slapping them on and just, oh, that looks good, and just let's move on to the next one. It's more to it than that. It's kind of like how they would react in certain lighting situations and all that kind of stuff, like what affects color, reflections, refractions, and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot to it. For something like this, where we're just kind of showing off the character in like a very basic pose, it's kind of not something that you need to worry about too much, except for making sure that it matches up with the background and that you got some colors that from your background in the foreground, so it looks all like one piece and doesn't look disjointed. So these little rings on here, gold. Not really sold on this red for this top part, but we'll see. Might like it later on, who knows? Maybe if I make this part red, I'll like it more. I think I'm just gonna make his pants brown. Another thing about overlay is it actually adopts the value of the color you choose to put on the grayscale to overlay on the grayscale affects the overall darkness or value of the end result, basically. So, show you what I mean. If I pick this like light brown to put on there, something like pretty bright there, okay, gold. Now, if I darken it up to right here, it's gonna add a darker color. See, so it's you got to keep that in mind when you're choosing the colors. So I want these designs on here to show on this strap right here. So I'm not gonna paint it with too dark of a brown. I'm gonna saturate it a little bit though. I want it to look gold. Just want it to look light brown. Okay, so there's something about that red that's bothering me. So if that's the case, and I might just leave it the way it is, but if that's the case, what you can do is just select that area if you don't already have it on another layer. You kind of have to select around some obstacles here because we just want this top part of his garment here. What I'm using is just a polygonal selection tool. It's just part of these selection tools up here where it's got, if you hold it, it's got lasso, polygonal, magnetic. I never use the magnetic for anything. I don't think I've ever used it. I don't even know what it does, but I just do lasso and polygonal usually. And the polygonal tool just allows you to basically draw polygons with the selection, and the lasso is kind of like a freehand selection drawing tool. If you want to get real precise, you want to probably use either the polygonal tool or the pen tool, which is a whole different tutorial altogether. But let's see. Okay, so once we have it selected what we want, we can go down here and add an adjustment layer. So you get out of this yin yang looking thing right here. At the bottom, it's on the bottom where you'll see the FX, then you'll see this camera looking thing, and then right next to it is a yin yang looking thing, and you just go to hue saturation, and with it selected, it basically creates a mask around what we've selected, so it's going to only affect that and nothing else. That's why you'll see the mask here on the right, where what you've selected is white and everything else is black. Creates like an alpha for it, basically. All right, and then we can move around the hue to see if there's a color that might work a little bit better. Maybe what it was is that our red was just a little too saturated. You just need to desaturate it a little bit. I think it was like right there. Desaturate a little bit. And I can turn this layer off and on, off and on. So if I don't like what I did later, just turn it off, dump it. That's a good thing about keeping it on a layer is that you don't have to worry about it. If I like it, eventually I'm going to merge it because I don't like to have a whole bunch of layers. So eventually, if I like it enough, I'm just going to merge it together. This part with the color, like putting on the color, it's kind of fun, but it's kind of tedious, or at least putting on the base color. Um, so at this point, I would probably, put on a movie or listen to some music or something like that, just to have some background noise. In this case, I'm doing this live demo here, so I can't really do that. But that's what I would usually do. Just have some background noise, and it makes the experience a little bit more enjoyable, in my opinion. Plus, I think there's something about when you listen to music while you paint. I think I've noticed a lot of my paintings. When I listen to music when I paint, they kind of like if I'm listening to like if I'm painting like something epic, like some God of War type stuff or something like that. Um, like I'll listen to like epic sound, epic movie scores and stuff like that, and I think it really it actually helps the painting in some way. I can't really explain it. It might just be all in my head, but um, whatever works, I guess. Get a third color in here. Well, we do have a third color. I guess we got that gold in there, but get something lighter. Everything's so dark in here. I'm gonna put a trim around his thing, like a gold trim around it. So you can see right now I don't have the character selected. Um, but like I said, I'm not worried about being messy right now because or going outside the lines or bleeding onto the canvas because we can just do what I said before and control select or actually on a Mac it's a command select the thumbnail on the layer and then inverse the selection and then delete everything outside the selection on that layer. I think that looks kind of good. Of course, thought red and gold look really good together. Makes the character look really regal, kingly. Since this is a lion, it wouldn't hurt to make him look kingly or regal. Plus, he's like some kind of you know spiritual, you know, monk or he knows magic and stuff like that. So But like we said, he also carries a gun, so he's part of this kind of dual class thing that we got going on with these characters. So he does magic, and maybe when he runs out of mana or something like that, like I described on the maybe the first video, I think, uh, he can pull out his gun and just start doing damage with that. Painting the staff. I'm just gonna go gold with it right now. The gun, I'm gonna go dark at first. And this plate right here, which is kind of like an excess. Actually, it's silver. Yeah. I was gonna put the plate gold too, but let's see. Gold and black always looks pretty cool too. Looks pretty it's always like really intimidating, those colors. I think like intimidating creatures have those colors. Like wasps and not wasps, like yellow jackets and bees and stuff. Like a yellow and black. And that kind of stuff is all about appealing to your audience and connecting with your audience. Like when your audience sees something yellow and black, typically it's pretty intimidating. You know, they can recognize that thing as intimidating. You know, so this weapon, this guy, he has this yellow and black weapon. You know, so he can be kind of intimidating. Or if we had, you know, changed his ensemble a gold and black ensemble, uh, he would look more intimidating. Let's see. So we almost pretty much have this guy completely rendered out. Colored out. See, after the color is added, so like right now I'm gonna merge this together because I forgot it was even there, which means I guess I must like the change that I made. I'm just gonna get rid of that. And after we render this, after we color this out, we it doesn't stop there. You know, we're gonna tighten up some details and do that. That'll probably be in the sped up part, but right now I just wanted to show you guys how I even add the color on there. And why it kind of, in my opinion, it kind of benefits to do the benefits you to do the grayscaling first. Okay, so this right now, I wanted to have some dark fur here. We're going to change the brush here. We're going to go to the natural brushes and choose one of these. Down to 50% opacity. Just get this dark part of his mane in there. Get some up here. Try to give the illusion of randomness. It's always good to add a randomness to your illustrations or concepts because it makes everything just seem more realistic. Especially to hair. Hair always has a certain amount of randomness in it. You know, like hairs that are just going the opposite direction than all the rest, and um, things like that. Hairs that are just curled up and just kind of doing their own thing. It's good to put those things in there because it adds a level of realism that that's easily overlooked. It's pretty good. This part whitish, grayish, whitish hair here. So you know what? I'm going to do this. This giving a little bit of age. See, by doing that, we're adding randomness to his fur, and his fur is coming out looking a little bit more realistic and interesting, rather than just a solid, light brown gold color. So it's good to put those things in there when you can. We're gonna reset our brush here, which takes you back to, I guess, a bunch of default brushes here. And just finish up some stuff. And then after that, I will switch to the sped up version of the video. At this point, you guys kind of got the idea. What you want to do is just, you create a layer above your grayscale layer, set it to either overlay, color, or hard light, whichever works for you. You can set it to soft light too, or just mess around with it. Mess around with the layer options, because that's how you're going to learn. But how I do it is I typically just use overlay, or I mainly just use overlay, but every once in a while I'll use color or hard light. So eyes green. Okay, so now we're gonna match this this guy up to our background a little bit better. We're gonna do another adjustment layer. What we're gonna do is what I'm actually gonna do first is, and this is up to you. I do this because I don't like a lot of layers. But when I see that everything's pretty much working the way I want it to, I'll just grab the two layers and merge them. Now, typically before that, I'll go ahead and do a save. And then I'll merge it. Oh, I forgot to get all the, see? Sometimes I forget to select inverse. Get all the color out of there that's outside the lines. Merge it together. And then what I'll do is I'll actually just save as again, just save as a separate one. So this video sketches 5. So how we're going to match our character up to the background a little better is with the curves. And the curves is a little bit hard to explain, but I'll try to do my best. So with these curves channel, you're affecting the red, green, and blue channels, right? Or the curves tool, I'm sorry. Said the curves channel. With the curves tool, you're affecting the red, green, and blue channels. And you could do it all together like this, which is if essentially you're just changing the contrast of the image. And you do it by adding points to this line here. Now this line is, if you think of it like a barrier between light and dark. So anything above the line is light, anything below the line is dark, okay? Or as far as your contrast is concerned. So also when you're at this point, that's the darkest point in your image, or the darkest part of the layer that you have this connected to. And this one up here to the top right is the brightest point, and that's kind of indicated by this gradient of value here on the left and on the bottom. So for instance, we have a lot of yellow in here. So you should know by now that the opposite of blue is yellow, right? So we want to add yellow to the highlights. So we go to the highlight part and we lower the blue. See, and if you look at the character, that's actually adding yellow to it, right? And then maybe we'll throw a little blue in the shadows for the contrast. Okay? That we got some greenish up top here, so we want to go. So we'll go to red, and because there's red also down here, and we don't need a whole lot of red in the highlights, but we need some green in the shadows, and the opposite of red is green. So we throw some green in the shadows there by pulling down the red, meaning we're lowering the red in the shadows. So, and then we're raising the red in the highlights. Okay. And that just kind of pushes the character back into the image and makes it kind of mesh with the image a little bit better. So I got these two characters in there with their base colors, and for the rest of the videos, the video is going to look a little weird because after this, even though this guy to the right, the jackal, is colored, you're actually going to see me color him again. So that's going to be weird, but remember, I actually did the live version of that and it got messed up. So, but whether my mic's like messing up or not, I'll go ahead and keep this live version. And after you see me paint the jackal in the sped up version, I will just, you'll see me wrapping some stuff up. And then I'll show you the final product. Okay. So go ahead and pause this here and I'll see you guys. Oh, okay. Kind of cut myself off there a little bit, but okay, so here we are where I'm going to be painting the jackal dude. And it looks kind of weird because everything's in grayscale again, and I already have that line painted. So we're like going back in time in this video to paint this jackal. But anyway, so here you see me just doing the selection and picking some colors. Using the hue and saturation sliders that I showed you in the first part. And this part's going to be pretty quick. It's about 5 minutes or so because, you know, it's just a repeat of what you just saw. So there's no reason to drag it out into another video. Or another live version anyway. So this guy's our rogue assassin, and although a rogue and an assassin are pretty closely related, we're still trying to keep in line with that dual class fantasy sci-fi design goal that we have. So we're trying to mix up fantasy and sci-fi for these guys, and kind of like something like maybe like you would see in like Star Wars or like that new game, I guess Destiny, that's coming out. That's like, to me, the characters look like a mix between the two. And there's a lot of games that have that. Gears of War has some elements of that. You know, so it's kind of just like if you do it right, it's like it could be a really cool mix, and it's kind of makes for really interesting designs and characters. But anyway. So that's the goal that we're trying to keep in line here with this guy too. Once again, essentially, you're just seeing a repeat of what you just saw on the next character here. Right there, I was showing how you can add a gradient, and you could even add, you know, in the layer options, if you double click the layer and choose gradient, it'll bring up some options for adding a gradient, and you could even add color to a gradient, so you can add a colored gradient. I can maybe do a tutorial on that later if you guys really want to see that. using that curves tool to match up the background and the foreground, make it all look like one image. And here you see me tightening some stuff up on the jackal. This is after it's been merged already. So I'm just basically using the colors and the values already on there to tighten this up. To a presentable point. We're not trying to get super detailed here because we don't want to lose life, and we don't want to, because when things get too tight, too detailed, they can lose life, and they can look really, rigid and whatever. And we don't want that. We want to keep the life in there, but we want to bring it to a point of being presentable. That's a professional point where it doesn't look sloppy. It can look loose, but it doesn't look sloppy. There is a difference, and you have to kind of find that point where, okay, this looks loose, but it doesn't look sloppy, so I can go ahead and present it. Because personally, I prefer the loose paintings. So after I'm done tightening this guy up, I'll tighten the lion guy up, and I'll show the finished product at the end. Put some lights on there, give it that sci-fi look. Just coming down to this leg here and tightening up some like the holes and stuff I had in here. I'm going to be fleshing out these boots for this jackal rogue assassin character a little bit more. Give him a part of the boot that kind of curves with the curve of his leg as it comes to the bottom there. And I'm going to go ahead and do it on both sides. Once again, flipping the canvas just to make sure that everything looks pretty good. I don't have any like really crazy composition or errors that you can miss if you don't flip the canvas often enough. A lot of times when you flip the canvas, you'll find that your drawing or painting will look like wobbly and like warped a little bit. And those are the kind of things that you're trying to fix by flipping the canvas, because it's basically like resetting your brain, like as if you were to have walked away and come back to it. So I think I talked about that in the earlier videos. So it's good to do that often. I'm adding some blue, I guess like that bluish greenish color that I put in the character's chest area and on his cape, just kind of like bring the whole thing together, so that you don't only find it on the top half or whatever of the character. You see that kind of I guess those colors run all the way through the character. Again, this is all cleanup stuff. So this is after the client has pretty much seen the design and has it's pretty much okayed it. So all that stress is gone, and right now you're just you can just put on some music and just kind of chill, because this is the easy stuff right here. This is like just the cleanup stuff. Just like once again, just making sure things don't look sloppy, and just bringing the whole image together. Adding some good, nice presentation. As later on, you'll see that I do some things to add to the presentation, which is also really important. Just pulling some of these strands out of his hair because it was looking a little too like blocky, like chopped up. So just pulling the strands out and staggering it a little bit. I'm doing the same thing with the blue trim that I did with the assassin guy on this guy, which is making that gold trim run all the way through the character. This is when I'm going to start trying to see what I can do to kind of add to the presentation of the piece. I don't stick with this right here, but you'll see in the final version that I do go with something. So just not what I'm doing right now. Should be coming to the final piece here soon. There we go. Nice little fade into the final piece. So here we have the final piece, and as you can see, I added some things around the canvas and behind the characters, like as if maybe you were selecting the character from a character selection screen or something like that, just to kind of, once again, add to the presentation. And, you know, I hope you guys really enjoyed these videos. I hope you learned something, and they taught you some tools and tricks that you can use to add to your workflow. And just thank you for watching. And if you have anything you'd like me to do a video on in the future, or any comments on the video I did, be sure to leave a comment and let us know. Thanks. Bye.